We are the children of Greek democracy, a society where all were citizens except from slaves, foreigners, children, and women. So we've come a long way because the last 150 years, finally, more and more has been done so that women are finally part of the politics. And this started in the 19th century with the suffragette movement and Emmeline Pankhurst. And a lot of this fight has resulted in finally having the right to vote. In the first country was New Zealand in 1893. Then came along Australia, Finland, then the US in 1920, Spain in 31. French, we had to wait for 1944. And then more countries came along until the last one, 2015, was Saudi. So it's been a major change in the last 150 years where finally women are part of the political sphere. And this means that they are not only voters but also candidates. The first female head of state was in Sri Lanka in 1960. And since then, there have been 70 prime ministers or world heads of country which are female, with big names like Indira Gandhi, Golda Meir, Evita Peron, Benazir Bhutto, or Ellen Johnson. And in Europe, we also have Angela Merkel in Germany, one of the most powerful women in the planet. But this is only a tiny part of the reality, because around the world, women only represent 22% of the parliamentary seats. The country with the greater female representation is actually Rwanda, with 53% of the parliament being female. But when we talk about heads of state, for example, beyond the big names, there are only 6% of the states which have a female head of state. So it's still very minimal. And in France, if we talk about a more local sphere, only 16% of the city mayors are female. So around the world, we are still run by men, and mostly older men. And why is that? Well, first because girls don't want to run for office. They don't consider the political sphere as a potential career. For different reasons, because they are less socialized by their parents and by their teachers to consider politics as a career. They have less activities linked to politics, like school associations or media conversations or watching political shows. They also have a lower rate of self-esteem and confidence, starting mostly from puberty, that actually limits them to step on stage and speak in public and represent the interests of others. And that's also the fact that when women have to contribute to social change, they usually prefer to engage into charity and social work than in the political office. And why is that? Well, basically, I guess that most of the image that the political world sends to women is that it's still very male-dominated, very hostile, and very sexist. Just look at the recent events in the US elections. Just look at who is running the world, right? And look at the media treatment of the female candidates, the bias, the insults, the jokes, the whistles, everything that actually leads to women not feeling that they belong there. And even it goes up to violence and to sexual harassment with the late cases we had of Dominique Strauss-Kahn or Beaupen in France. So all this contributes to the fact that women, and actually one of them, really want to stay away from this very hostile area. But the thing is, if we are not representing ourselves, we are represented by others who actually don't know our needs. Just think about the last picture of Trump surrounded by men and signing the ban on the birth control. We are still in this society where we need more women representing themselves because they know what they need. And the idea is when women engage in politics, again, different studies show that it has great impact on countries and on cities in terms of trust and confidence from the citizens, in terms of the level of investment in healthcare, in education, in terms of the quality of spending in the different areas. Women also have a different ways of leading, which tend to be less hierarchical and more inclusive. So it's beneficial to all that women engage in politics, and it also brings a better representation of the citizens. So how do we shift the balance in politics? Well, different organizations are trying to improve the situation. Some of them gather women who are already running for office or who consider to run for office. For example, Femmes et Pouvoir in France or Aswat Nisa in Tunisia are gathering women and training them on leadership skills and public speaking skills. Then other organizations like Leaderize and Vote to Lead are really developing leadership skills in young girls so that they consider applying for office. There are more and more women role models that we see around the world, like Michelle Obama, which actually inspire young women to run for office. And then there are also different studies like I Know Politics, which is giving the best practices of political parties to include female candidates. Tunisia is a very interesting case study as well, working on vertical and horizontal parity. And there are different studies from the Women's Media Center called Name It, Change It, to talk about the way the media is treating female and male candidates, and journalists can be inspired by this. In any case, no matter your doubts, no matter your tension related to the political sphere, women have to get into it as much as possible. Consider running for office. Consider backing up a candidate, or at least engaging with him or her on social media so that women's situation and women's needs are actually taken into account. Because we still need to make her story. And as Bella Abzug says, a woman's place is in the House of Representatives.